Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my place on the internet. My name's Amanda and I post a lot of lifestyle content. Longtime subscribers of this channel would know that at one point in time, I had a brand deal with an engagement ring company, which is now privated, but that feels like kind of a full circle moment, like coming back to actually be engaged. And no, this one is not sponsored. So I recently got engaged, as you can clearly tell from the title, and I just wanted to make like a fun story time, like sit down, talkative video. I thought it would be really cool to have this video to look back on in future years because I know the details can get forgotten or shifted. So rewinding a little bit, for like 6 to 8 months we had been talking about getting engaged and I knew absolutely nothing about rings. Like, I am not a jewelry person usually, so I did not know any of the possibilities in general, like any of the terminology surrounding engagement rings. I did not know anything at all. So in the fall we went to a local ring shop and just talked to them about what was possible, different kinds of cuts for the stone, like that type of thing. And I narrowed down some of the options for things that I immediately hated and things that I immediately loved. And I started making a list of different combinations and things that I wanted. And I also started doing some research on my own. So I gave all this information to my boyfriend at the time. So it was kind of a good middle ground for a surprise because he ultimately got to put together the final thing and design like what exactly it was going to look like, but I had a lot of input into some of the elements and styles that I liked. And then for the actual engagement, we talked about doing an engagement trip because we both don't really like the city that we're currently living in. It's a small city. We are not big fans of this place. We developed our love for hiking in national parks after we had already gotten together. So it's kind of a joined hobby that we both fell in love with around the same time. So I knew that we were going to a national park, at least one, and I had thrown out the idea of somewhere in Utah just because I really love the scenery there and I felt like it would be such a perfect backdrop for an engagement, and also we had never been to Utah. But what's crazy is that he was telling me like vague details here and there when he was planning the trip and booking the logistics. He was talking to me about the rental car situation while he was figuring that out. He said something along the lines of, the rental cars in Colorado are so expensive. And then I stopped him and I was like, wait, did you just say Colorado? So that's how I found out a couple months in advance that we were going to Colorado. I did not expect it, especially after dropping a few hints about Utah. But I wasn't too surprised either because I love Colorado, and ever since I first visited Denver in 2024, I've been telling everyone around me that I want to move to Colorado, but I still didn't know exactly where we were going, if we were going to go to Rocky Mountain or another national park, so it wasn't too big of a spoiled surprise. Fast forward to the actual trip. The day rolls around, it's Thursday after work. On that Thursday, I was stressed to the max trying to get through work because there was just a lot going on at my work that day, and then I had to do all these last minute packing things and run around, drop off the library book at the library. There's just so much to get done right before the flight that I was like kind of nervous, but it ended up being okay. We get to the airport and then boom, our flight was delayed. And at first it was like for an hour, so we were like, okay, like we have an extra hour in this tiny airport. We can just chill. We started watching the original Devil Wears Prada, which was fun. And then after a little bit, our flight was delayed again. So it was 2 hours late, which means that we were going to miss our connecting flight because it turns out our first flight was going to Chicago. And then we were gonna fly out of Chicago to Denver. So Surya took things into his hands and he ended up calling the airline and finding another later flight so that we could still make it to Denver just a little bit later. We ended up getting on that later flight to Chicago and then sprinting through O'Hare to make it to our next flight in 10 minutes. We ended up making it with a couple minutes to spare, but it was kind of insane, like running for my life in the middle of the airport. And then to make it worse, on that flight, before it could land in the Denver airport, there was some windy weather and it was unsafe to land, so we were literally circling around the Denver airport in our plane. for like 30 to 40 minutes, which made us even more delayed. Our pilot had even said that if the conditions didn't improve, we would be landing in Colorado Springs instead, which would have been awful because our rental car was booked in the Denver airport, and it would have been like a whole another logistical nightmare to deal with. But luckily the weather improved, we landed in the Denver airport, and then we took our shuttle to the rental car place. There was a little bit of a line there, and so that took a while. By the time we got back to our hotel, it was like 3 a.m. Denver time, which was 4 a.m. Central time. It was crazy. We ended up sleeping in as late as we could in our hotel, getting about like 6 hours of sleep, I want to say. 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep. Not the best. So that late start pushed back some of the original plans that Surya had made, which ended up being okay. At the time, I didn't know what I was missing out on or what had shifted because I had no idea what we were doing next or what was going to happen any step of the trip. It honestly kind of made it a lot easier for me as a mostly type A person because I wasn't stressed the way I normally am when I'm on a trip and I'm doing something and I'm thinking about like, okay, we have to leave here at this time to get to this next destination to do this. Like I had no idea how long we were going to spend at each place, where we were going next. Surya was on top of all of that, and it was honestly so nice to just relax and go with the flow and be fully present and in the moment every single part of the trip. We ended up getting breakfast in Denver at this really cool vegan spot. It was so good. We had amazing vegan breakfast, and then we ended up driving to Great Sand Dunes National Park, which I was totally not expecting until we arrived and saw the signs like 30 minutes before we got there that said Great Sand Dunes National Park. I had no idea actually that was a national park in Colorado because I specifically made sure not to do any research before this trip because I wanted to be surprised. That park was absolutely beautiful. We'd get there around, I think, 4 or 5 p.m., a couple hours before sunset. We ended up going to the visitor center, getting our national parks passports stamped, and then we did a quick hike to this lookout area to overlook all of the dunes in their entirety. It is so insanely stunning. It like literally looks like you're in the middle of Egypt or somewhere in the Sahara Desert, except it's like surrounded by the beautiful Colorado mountains. It's genuinely insane. One of the coolest national parks I've ever been to. So after our little hike there, we ended up driving to another secret destination, which was about an hour away, 40 minutes to an hour away. And it ended up being this like hot tub spa place, which was really, really cool. It had a bunch of different hot tubs of varying temperatures. There were some outside pools, a lot of inside pools. It was just so cute, like a little hot tub resort. We spent a few hours there. They had like no vegan food. After that, we ended up driving another 40 minutes to an hour back to our hotel, which was in a town called Alamosa, I believe. So we spent the night there, got a lot of rest, and caught up on the sleep that we had missed the day before. And then bright and early the next morning, we went back to Great Sand Dunes National Park, and we hiked up the dunes this time, because you can actually hike on the sand dunes, which is genuinely crazy. So many people were sand sledding and sandboarding, but it was a little bit cold. A cold front had blown into Denver that day. I totally forgot to mention, when we first got to Denver, it was like 30 degrees and snowing. And then when we were hiking the sand dunes, it was about 40 to 50 degrees, so the wind was kind of brutal. I had to buy a beanie in the visitor center because my ears were getting so cold. But it was a crazy experience. I definitely want to go back at some point because we ended up having to leave halfway through the day and head to our next destination, which was another national park. Did not realize it at the time, but we were heading towards Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, which is another Colorado national park. It's the least visited, I believe, in all of Colorado. I'm pretty sure. That's what I read in one of the magazines I was looking through, which is actually crazy because at Alamosa, I had picked up one of those like visitor magazines that was like all about Denver and things to do there, and it was talking about all of the national parks. And I kept saying to Surya, like, wow, we should come back here and come to this like Black Gunnison of the national park. It says that no one comes here, but it looks so beautiful. Unbeknownst to me, we were literally driving there as I was saying that, which was crazy. So eventually a couple hours go by, we get to Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, and we stopped by their visitor center right before they closed, and we got our stamp, which was crazy because we didn't realize until after we had gotten there, but they had an outside passport stamping station, so we didn't even have to leave the sand dunes early to go get our passports stamped. at the Black Canyon Visitor Center. We could have just come later and got it stamped because they had one outside at all times, but whatever, it's okay. We ended up going on a hike around the rim of the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. A lot of the trees were like burnt and fried because they had like a really bad summer thunderstorm in 2025 that like destroyed parts of the national park. It was really sad. We ended up spending our sunset there looking out at one of the canyon overlooks. I think it was called Sunset View. It was really beautiful and special to me, especially because the Grand Canyon was my very first national park ever. So to see another canyon national park was just really cool to kind of compare the differences and see a totally different type of canyon. After that, we had dinner at a Himalayan place nearby the park, which had really, really good food. And then we continued on our road trip and we ended up driving a few more hours into Utah, which was so cool to see the difference between the mountains turning into like more desert vibes. As soon as we got into Utah, it was like the switch was immediate. And Utah is also a state that I've never been to. It was my 25th US state, which was so special. Since it was so late, we just got to our hotel in Green River, Utah. The next day, we woke up again bright and early and we headed to Canyonlands National Park. This is another national park that I feel like I haven't really heard of that much, or I just feel like I didn't really know it in the mainstream the same way that like Zion or Arches is known more. But it was so beautiful, one of my favorite national parks ever. We go to the visitor center there, we get to our first hike. We were not used to the type of hiking that takes place in Utah because you literally have to be on your hands, like it's that steep. We were butt scooting at points. The first hike we did was called Aztec Butte and it was insane. Like we actually missed the trail at first because there are these things called cairns, I think they're called. I don't know how to pronounce it fully, but like they're stacks of rocks, like 3 or 4 rocks stacked on top of each other. And when you see one of those, you have to look for the next cairn. And so that's how you know like where to go, because on some of the rocks, there can't be like normal trail markers. So we just follow these cairns or kerns or whatever they're called. We like missed the place to go at first and we tried to follow these footprints in the sand and they led nowhere. And then another couple got lost too and we all turned back. And then we saw another couple like actually go the right way and we realized that we had missed the right way previously. So we ended up going back, climbing up on our hands this extremely steep rocky climb that was like genuinely insane. I wish I had a video of it. We made it to the top of this butte. Surya got scared and didn't fully come up, but he made it like 95% of the way. And I just walked around the rim of the butte, saw a 360 view of the canyons. So many different canyons. It's such a vast landscape. I think they were telling us that it's twice as wide as the Grand Canyon, but then the Grand Canyon is twice as deep as Canyonlands. It was genuinely incredible and so, so beautiful. We did a few more hikes there, and then we ended up going to Moab, or Moab. I still don't know how to pronounce that. I should have looked that up. We ended up getting lunch there. It is such a beautiful city. I was really impressed with how it's like literally trapped in between all of these mountains and gorgeous scenery, and there's so much outdoor activities, so much to do there, so many cute shops and bookstores. We ended up getting some Thai food there, and we also ordered a box of Thai food to go for the following day because the following day it was going to be our last national park day, and Surya had warned me in advance there's going to be the most hiking on the following day. Eat our dinner, we take our leftovers, and we go back to our hotel. We rest up again, and then the next morning we head to Arches National Park. We got to Arches pretty early because it is one of the more popular parks, so we wanted to make sure that we weren't stuck waiting in a giant line. So I think we got there around like 7 or 8 a.m. We got to the visitor center like right after they opened. We watched a documentary about the arches and how they form and everything like that, and then we head up into the park, and our first stop is this iconic location called Balanced Rock, which I had never heard of before, but it was very cool. We did this like little mini loop around Balanced Rock, and we realized that like no one was there because it was so early and we were all alone. And so that is where Surya ended up proposing. Turned on my camera as if we were taking a cute couple video, because I forgot to mention, but throughout this trip we had been taking a lot of pictures and videos together. I had kind of told him at the start of the trip, like, hey, why don't we start taking like cute couple videos at all the parks we're at, and in that way, whenever you're about to propose, you can just turn on the video and I won't suspect it because we've been taking all these cute videos everywhere, so I'll just think it's another one of those. And so that's exactly what he did. He ended up putting my camera on a rock, recording the video, and then he came back and got on one knee and proposed. And I am so happy that I have the footage of it. It was such a great moment. And it was actually, I found out, something that he didn't even plan. He had planned originally to propose at a specific arch that is on a very wide loop, and a lot of people don't make it to that arch because you pass by multiple other arches and it's like the farthest one in this like 3 to 5 mile stretch. But he realized the moment that this iconic spot was like completely empty, and it was such a special moment between just the two of us. It just felt right, and I'm so glad he did that because it's such an iconic spot. It was just so perfect and beautiful. What's crazy is that I am usually such an emotional person. Like, the thought of my wedding will make me cry. Just being angry will make me cry. Like, everything will make me cry. I'm a Cancer. I have multiple Cancer placements. But somehow during this proposal, I did not feel emotional at all. I somehow felt like very calm and just happy. And I was able to like fully just savor the moment. Like, it was really crazy. I did not expect it at first. I was confused that he was doing it there because I also was expecting him to do it later on in that trip because I knew it was the last day and he had to be proposing that day, but I was expecting it to be later on at some other random spot. The fact that it was so early on caught me off guard as well, which was really awesome because there's still a surprise element. Even though I knew that this was an engagement trip, I just feel like it was the most magical, exciting place to do it. It was funny because when he first put the camera on the rock and then came back to me, I could tell that he like looked nervous, and I was just very confused. I like didn't put it together, maybe because it was so early in the morning. I was just like, why is he like shaking a little bit and so confused? And then yeah, he forgot a lot of the like speech he had prepared in advance to say, and he just kind of wung it in the moment, and I feel like that made it really special and authentic as well. After that, we ended up doing a lot more hikes. Like, it was definitely our biggest hike heavy day. The more we hiked and did all of these like 3 mile loops and different trails, the more happy I was that he had proposed in the morning before I was sweaty and exhausted. We ended up going to Delicate Arch, which is the arch that is on Utah's license plate. I think it's their most famous arch. It was beautiful but terrifying because once you get up this like 3 mile stretch and do all this climbing, there's like a bowl. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a fish bowl where it's like slanted, and then the arch is on the other side. So we were like starting over here. We had to like scoot our way over this like slanted bowl, and then there's like a big drop off in the middle. So we had to like scoot our way over here just to get to the famous Delicate Arch and get a picture by it. I did not like that. I was scared. Like, so many people were just walking like straight up along the edge right before the drop off, and like we even saw a group of like these teen boys go off totally off the trail and like go to another different spot like in the park to have a better view of the arch. It was insane. I made it. It was great. We did another loop of arches. I think it was in like Devil's Garden or something like that. It was somewhere near there. It was very beautiful. All the arches are so beautiful. We did so many different trails and hikes that I don't even remember all of them that day. We ended up also forgetting our lunch, the Thai lunch that we had ordered the day before, specifically to have lunch in the park at Arches. We totally forgot it at our hotel. So we had to survive on these Lenny and Larry's like vegan protein cookies, which ended up being okay, but it made us like very hungry for dinner time. So after all that hiking, when like our feet were so exhausted and we could not muster up the energy for another hike, we went back to Moab. We went to this restaurant that had a few vegan options. We ended up having a nice dinner, walking around. We got boba from the food truck park. We got some books from a little local bookstore. We got a magnet that had Balanced Rock on it. And then we ended up heading back to the hotel for the night and passing out. And then the day after that, the last day of our trip, all we did was wake up and drive back through Utah, through Colorado, and back to Denver, return our rental car, and then fly home. So it was just a whole day of traveling, which was very beautiful to see the mountains of Colorado in the daytime, because I think when we were driving into Utah, it was pitch black. So it was nice to see that transition when it was still sunny and bright out. Colorado is just so beautiful. Like, everywhere you go in that state is magical. It was 10 out of 10, the trip of a lifetime. I wish I could go back and relive it again because it went by like so fast. Props to Surya for planning this whole trip on his own. The ring could not have turned out better. Like, look how beautiful this is. I hope this is showing up in focus. The middle stone on this ring is lab grown. The 2 pink stones are pink sapphires that are natural. And then all of the other diamonds on the sides are reused from that necklace that my mom gave me. I think it could not have turned out prettier. It literally looks like a princess ring. Like, every time I see it, I just feel like a princess. It looks like a little tiara almost. It's just so me. So that's the tea. I don't know when exactly I'm gonna be getting married. I feel like I'm just trying to enjoy my engagement for now. But yeah, it's an exciting life milestone. Thank you all for watching this video. I will see you next time. Peace out. This is crazy because this was sitting on my lap this entire video and I totally forgot to mention it. I ended up making a Shutterfly book which tells the story of our engagement. So I was planning to use this for the video and like go through page by page to help me like remember and talk about everything, but I ended up just remembering on my own.
This hit